the British casting stream of the Brazilian dominance. We can figure it out. You know, Jackie is the wordsmith. I'll leave that to him. There's something we can work out here.
I think it's probably for the best.
It is for the best, mate. I'm already slaughtering this one. We'll stop it right there. Speaking of a slaughter, this could be one of those. It's a boom or bust kind of game, I feel, where FURIA are going to come to the table and really compete with SSG, or SSG are just going to wipe the floor with FURIA. I don't think it goes any other way. I can't see FURIA stomping their way through SSG, for example.
Well, the thing here is as well, because we're in a 3-team group with Na'Vi, SSG and FURIA, if SSG pick up the win here, they're all but qualified. So it starts to narrow down the field a little bit. Whereas a win for FURIA is actually really good for the group, because then you come into it with Na'Vi just to play a FURIA, and if potentially, say, Na'Vi get a win there, you come into the second round of games knowing absolutely nothing. And it's just going to end up like the Wild West in there.
Yeah, it could well shape out to be that way. Lion, a band that I want to touch on here for a quick second, mind you, of course. Recent bust for the Lion has the Gon 6 added as his secondary gadget, or gun in this case, his secondary utility, alongside the ability that it gives to clear out those roamers. And interestingly, it was FURIA bringing that through as a ban, so maybe showing a bit of fear here for Rampy on the roam. The Jaeger ban to close things out all but confirms that, I think, given the damage that Rampy was doing earlier on Cafe against Na'Vi with that same operator.
Yep, bit of targeting coming in there, I would expect. I think FURIA also, when they get onto the attack, they need to take the opportunity to bring the throwables, move towards site quickly, because of course Wamai's magnets only generate over time, and it's something SSG could take advantage of here. Get towards site quickly, start getting those throwables in, and there's going to be very little defense against them available at that point.
All right, then let's have a look at what operators are being brought along here. I saw that Jackal coming out for Rampy to start things off. Bosco on the Nomad, so that flank watch going to be a key part of this game. On the other side, we're seeing the same sort of thing that Na'Vi employed in a couple of their rounds against SSG. That information denial, normally as a trio with the Vigil in tow. Here, it's just the Mozzie and the Mute. But with this map being quite small and tight, expect to see a lot of success from those two operators in that regard.
We're going to be heading down to Kitchen to begin with in round number 1. FURIA on the defense, of course. They're going to look to hold on to top floor a little bit, I would expect. There goes the Vulcan Shield on the 90 corner. We're going to have some presence inside of Theatre, and the reason they're doing this is because they don't want SSG to just have full control over VIP particularly. If they can get VIP locked down, use the vertical angles, they can open up above sight and just force the defenders to move around, maybe even pick up a kill or two. So it's really important. Let's tell you what, there's been a lot of renovation going on site as well. Service has been pretty much completely opened up through to bathroom. We've got the holes that allow a line of sight basically from luggage through to the default plant spot inside of the kitchen window, should SSG try for that, although it is a lesser used plant spot and tends to more often than not go down inside the service. But it will largely depend what sort of control they can get as to where they might be able to make that attempt.
It's a little bit different here as well in terms of the approach from SSG, looking to come from the west and move across to the east rather than just starting on the east and looking to use that immediately as your drop. So almost extending how much time it's going to take them, because for all intents and purposes, they need to do a full map clear. They've got to worry about Hookah being clear. They've got to worry about, therefore, below that in Sunrise being clear. They want to worry about any potential roamers down inside of Aqua, then get VIP control, Penthouse control, then start looking at Kitchen. They've got to really do the dance across the entirety of Coastline here. I hope to God they've got the Fitbit on, because they'll be putting in some goddamn miles in this game. At this point, Rare is the one playing downstairs inside of Sunrise, looking to try and challenge from below, but have stepped away pretty quickly. Has a shotgun in hand. I wonder if at this point, though, the side of SSG are aware. I think they were, which is why he's going to back away into sight pretty much immediately.
Yeah, Bosco just holding down that angle. Hotancold moving in through Sunrise as well. Now looking to just play the long angle in towards Kitchen. Maybe across towards main lobby. I think SSG are aware that there's still a couple of defenders over on the far side of the map. Lenda and Miracle just moving in and out of the main lobby and the bottom of the white stairs there, just to try and make it difficult for SSG to take any real control. Fntzy will find one of the air jabs and take it down. That will offer the potential for a little bit of a rotation, a flank there, and Right now, FURIA are doing a very good job of holding onto this top floor. This could be dangerous. There's one. Does he know there's a second? Does Highs know? Shots did come in after the kill, so he should be aware and should be able to hold Fultz here. Is he going to take the challenge? He does, but he puts the nitro in his hand. Gets downed whilst doing it, but damage comes onto Fultz. He has to back away. In comes the challenge, and there is Lenda on the swing. Can't get the kill, but he does turn 180. Tries to hit the shots onto Hotancold. Won't be able to. Dips away before that nade is going to do any damage.
I mean, this is the problem with this full map clear that I mentioned, right? You get greeted and challenged at even the smallest of parts, and you're going to find it stinging you. They've now got players rotating back behind them to stop them. Lenda with another onto Hotancold as well. A double kill in the round for him before finally he does get put down. But there's 15 seconds to play. Bosco and Nade have got it all to do entirely by themselves here, looking to try and push their way into the site. FURIA not yet being unseated. They've got one playing here on the chassis itself. Steps out for the challenge. Nade going to try and go for the plant. All Bosco's got to do is hold the angle. One steps out, another one goes to the left. Doesn't know about the man though. Will he be able to finish the plant off? No, he won't. Fntzy closing things out with a bit of a late round rotate. That was all, for me at least, the side of FURIA just being aggressive inside of security and disrupting SSG on their way towards the site.
Oh, it was interesting what they did up on the top floor as well, Des, because SSG basically gave up on taking top floor control. They moved into Hooker very quickly, droned it out and thought, you know what, we don't like this. And they moved away, dropped down, tried to move through Sun into security instead, and was shut down by Highs. It was basically FURIA, as you say, just having SSG's number and knowing what to expect and playing into it very nicely and not being scared to step up and take those challenges, and that's exactly what they did, taking the first round. They're going to move up now to Hooker and Billiards as a top floor site, but tell you what, that's going to be a real sort of a real round to steady the nerves for FURIA, which, you know, coming in against SSG, they're a team with a big history behind them and a lot of ability, so you know, I'm sure that's going to do a world of good for FURIA.
I'm not yet at the point where I want to start blaming the map, but
give it a few rounds.
Give it a few rounds, mate, and I'll be off on one. You know me. Honestly, that was, again, a good case of SSG, you know, doing what every team should do. Looking to clear the map, make sure no one's going to cause any trouble, trying to get their way into lobby. But there was no drones at the feet of those two players looking to push down into security. There was no pinch pressure coming in from lobby, at least not until later on, for example. So for FURIA, it was just taking a heads-up gunfight. There was no real advantage coming in for SSG as they were pushing in through a single doorway. And it's small things like that where I think on any other map, SSG wouldn't just have, we're going to crouch walk into security and hope for the best here. No! And a spawn peek for Rare. Great spawn peek onto Rampy. Again, another coastline special.
I tell you what, FURIA getting up in the face of SSG and giving them a bloody nose in the early round like that is going to take its toll if it continues. What a play from Rare. Just pops up, sees his man and has the confidence to stick the challenge. He didn't hit the shots immediately, but he was happy to keep going until he did. And what a pick to take down Rampy. Opening death again. As you say, if they can keep him on the sidelines like this for as much of this game as possible, that is going to be a huge momentum builder for FURIA.
There's a real bittersweet, ironic almost nature to killing a Jackal first as well. The one who you'd assume is going to be the one to hunt down these Romans, stop you getting spawn peeked or roamed on in the late round. No, normally the one finding himself picked off. It's happened twice in a row now. Fultz does a little bit of neutralizing work, mind you, bringing down Rare, who I assume was hanging around for a C4. Brings us into a 4 versus 4 with a minute and 45 still on the clock. On this map, I'd say time isn't as big a factor, given it is a little bit tighter, it is a little bit smaller. It's all going to be down to what the setup is going to be from SSG. Currently 2 inside a kitchen, Fultz hanging around inside a Sunrise, and just collecting some information so they know what it is they need to be doing with this execute into Hookah and Billiards.
Could be a push up Cool Vibes stairs that will be being mounted. We'll see if any rotations come along that would suggest otherwise, but certainly seems to be the case, actually. Hotancold and Bosco just moving outside of the map through the window and then up onto Hooker deck, joined by Fultz as well on that rotation. Bosco just going to put the air jab outside. That's going to allow some play up onto the double window with the Nomad. Just try and again get some sort of advantage, cut off the rotations inside of sight. There's now a defender locked in behind bar. If he tries to move, he's likely to lose his life in doing so. Lenda just making a challenge out of luggage window, and it's aggression again. There's not not scared to take that challenge out of the window onto the Aquabalk and just, again, let Spacestation Gaming know that there is no free territory here. And this could be two players coming together here. Lenda's just going to hold the angle for the time being. He's got Fultz just moving towards him inside of luggage, but he's just going to hunker down for the time being and see if the man exposes himself. Now, I think that's exactly what's going to happen, but Fultz turns away. Lenda doesn't know that there's a man that would have been absolutely free in there, and SSG get away with one, able to start putting this diffuser down.
Plans coming in here as well. No one challenging, no one trying to stop. You are looking to that vigil to make something happen, and Lenda does start moving his way forward, but nothing to be found. Bosco on the vertical rappel looking towards bar, finds nothing. Hey, there's that Nomad air jab coming in to strike. Nice one from Bosco to pick off Lenda, who's trying to get a little bit cheeky, and I feel here FURIA might have just let them get away with all too much. A 2 versus 4, the plant being down, a 1 versus 4. Much better from SSG. Zero response coming out of FURIA.
FURIA had the opportunity there. You just feel if Lenda had pushed slightly more aggressively into luggage, got the kill onto Fultz, he would have been completely free then to challenge onto Aquarium, and that would have really changed things up about whether that plant could or would have gone down. But ultimately, it's all could and would have should. But ultimately, SSG, as you say, very, very solid there, able to get that diffuser down, took the opportunity perfectly, and FURIA able to do very little about it realistically. So moving into round 3, we once again find ourselves with a game that has started off 1-all, and it suggests it could be a tight one, but FURIA need to make sure that they don't let SSG get their head too much, because if they do, they will start running at them, and that's not the place you want to be.
Just to paint the picture of the raw dominance in that round from SSG, by the way, Rare still got that opening kill, let's not forget, onto Rampy. They had nothing to control the roamers with, nothing really to help hunt them down outside of maybe the Yana using the decoy, and of course the drones that come out of all of the attackers themselves. Yet they still get into a point where they win with 4 members still alive and no one left standing on FURIA's side. Outside of that entry kill, it was a flawless execute out of SSG. They played the attack really well, set up all their win conditions, and gave basically nothing for FURIA to fight back with. Really impressive stuff. Now we get to head onto the downstairs. Sunrise and Blue Bar. Not loads of changes coming in for either side here. Really a couple of tweaks to the defending setup from FURIA. But again, looking to go for a vertical hold around the bar area. Plus Lenda looking to be cheeky inside of office.
Well, they had plenty of success with it back in round 1. There wasn't much that SSG wanted to or could do about that vertical hold. They chose to go horizontal instead, and it cost them in the end. So FURIA, no surprise to see them trying more of the same. But I just get the feeling that after that last round Space Station, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive about things here. I think the confidence will be going up a little bit. They'll be getting comfortable inside of the map, and they'll be ready to go in and take those challenges. Now Rare, he's just going to hop out of his position inside a hooker, look to pressure towards luggage for the time being, potentially slow down any push that may be coming from there. And we've also got a man playing inside of kitchen and service as well. So SSG look like they're going to be challenged wherever they choose to go into the building.
I mean, that's really the way to play Cosign again, because it's quite a small map. You should be challenging them no matter where they want to try and get in. Often that is the best point, is to challenge people who's on the entry, because they're going in through windows, through doorways, often single ones. They're locked into animation more often than not. It is the best time to go for an early challenge, and it wastes a good bit of time. You might find yourself killing a couple of things off. Grenade comes down, almost a shot coming in onto the sledge there. Hotancold does take a little bit of damage, equally so does Highs. I can't imagine, I was going to say, there's no way he stands there twice and doesn't die the second time. But Fntzy strikes big, living in a dream of his own with 2 kills coming back. Good way to start shutting SSG down. 4 versus 3, Rampy taking that opening death once again and just giving the respect inside of the server there with a nice shot over to Fntzy, the man who found him. And that leaves us 4 versus 3. 1 minute 20 left to go, and Hotancold still left to try and locate any of these FURIA players to get them shut down. A little bit of information being fed back into him maybe leads to a pre-fire into Sunrise, but he won't have any joy. Bosco also aware of the potential for a flank coming down those white stairs, so will apply the air jab, but it looked like it was in a position that could potentially be spotted out there, so something they just need to be aware of. We've already seen FURIA well aware of those gadgets and just taking them out when the opportunity struck. Here we go. Oh, get cheeky on Paul entrance here as well, which is enough to make, at this point, the Yana Nade a little bit nervous that he might find himself getting ran out on if he's not too careful. Does, of course, still have the Yana Gemini to make use of here if they want it, but there's another one also hanging inside of blue. So Nade's got to be super careful here. He's only you know, a second or two away from being run out on from either direction or jumped out from either of those windows. Got to be really careful. Hotancold taking the challenge onto one, but not yet able to shut him down as the smoke comes ringing through. He's got himself back behind the bomb chassis. Great spot to be in there as well, and good retreat coming in from the smoke of Rare.
3 versus 3 as Bosco finds the kill onto the low hit point Fntzy, and it's all starting to go in favour of Space Station right now. In the last 10 seconds of the round, it's down to Miracle. 1 versus 1 effectively, but Hotancold, he finds the shot across the bar and puts the man down. Spacestation Gaming taking the second round, and that was a real flurry at the end of things there.
Yeah, just again descending into one of these pushes where, you know, hit your shots and you win. You saw like 2 or 3 different gunfights taking place, and Hotancold was getting involved in every single one. A bit chaotic, but also part of the fun along the way. I get a feeling that we're going to see something a little bit different here, Ace. Penthouse and Theatre has been selected by FURIA. Now, we don't see this site basically at all because it can be really hard to defend. What some teams who do defend it like to do is open up basically every soft wall inside of the site and play it at long range. And seeing things like the Echo, like the Dock on side, a couple of C4s coming in, I'm thinking that might be the play here from FURIA.
Could well be. There are also vertical angles as well. A lot of soft surfaces on the floor, as you can see from all that wooden flooring. So there is the potential for that vertical denial of plant spots as well. Not having too much renovation at the minute, as you said. You know, we do tend to get a lot of angles opened up here when we see the defense coming in. Marooney looks like maybe starting that process. There you go. So by opening up that angle there, it just allows long range challenges through onto the double window, onto the plant spot, onto the bathroom drop. There's all sorts that can be challenged from there now.
Alrighty, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what this dock's being used for here as well for Fntzy. Is it more the intent to be supportive, where, for example, on constantly yellow stairs, you're juicing up a clash to make sure they're not being naded out? Is it more to play aggressive and looking out the windows? I know, of course, we've lost the days of the good old grand ACOG that would so commonly be used to spawn peaks. Still quite handy with the scope on the gun regardless. Playing behind the shield in here does suggest it's more about that potential long range into VIP.
It's an interesting hold. The corridor outside of Theatre is going to be particularly important because they're holding down angles from their shields on both sides. Plenty of utility to try and keep them inside of that position. And then also the man inside of Hall of Fame as well, just looking to lock down any push from DJ Balcony. So FURIA, they've got themselves set. It's now down to SSG to try and go in there and just pick them a piece part by part, get the information, clear the utility, and then try and find favourable gunfights. We can see that FURIA have got men downstairs as well. As we said, Nitro's in hand.
This is interesting.
Information's going to get fed in about Bosco pushing into Akko. He's actually going to drop back out for the time being, but if there's anybody down in office, we could find those Nitros come into use.
Fultz has kind of been this space. It's kind of a role that gets talked about a bit in SSG. This kind of space taker, you know. People were kind of nervous that with Merc not being on side for TSM that they would have lost that role on the team and wouldn't have someone to step into the map and take a lot of space. Fultz has been doing that time and time again so far and just getting himself into really key spots to help hold things up. Fntzy with an opening kill. That's 4 rounds in a row, by the way, that FURIA have found the opening kill, yet they're only at 1 round win.
They've got to start taking advantage of that situation of getting themselves ahead in the early round. Fntzy with a great long-range kill there. He's been playing out of Hall of Fame and he's just got that line of sight opened up all the way across to hook a double window, and it's served him well. But Fultz, he's going to shut down Lenda, and this is what SSG have done so well. I spoke about how well FURIA can scrap, how they can find results that seem to be going against them, but it's something that Space Station are showing us right now. Regardless of losing the entry kills, they're coming back and they're fighting hard. You saw the crossfire that Rare found himself in there. Rampy it is that finds himself the kill, but one way or another, he was going down. 4 versus 3, and SSG again have turned that manpower into their own advantage.
I almost feel like it's FURIA finding an entry kill and then just staying spaced out and not looking to kind of consolidate what they've got. You've got a numbers advantage. You play off trades. Oh, beautiful nade from Hotancold from below as well onto Fntzy. But again, not kind of bringing all that together, condensing your resources. You've got 5 men left alive. Play for trades. Instead, they're staying spread, and SSG are saying, you know what, 3 versus 1. We'll take that every day of the week. No problem at all. Great shot from Miracle, finds one, pops off the glow shield, expecting yet another to come crawling in. It is going to be Fultz. Another grenade comes singing through. That was almost the second in the round coming out for them. There's the one angle. Surely he sees the man. No, he doesn't, because he's back in the side room. Nade's going in for the plant and FURIA once again have bled members. Rampy with a good angle hold. One was watching from the bottom side towards White Stairs. Just another really good attack from SSG, where despite the numbers disadvantage, they're coordinating far better than FURIA are.
Easy for SSG at the end there with Thinkingnade getting the diffuser down, and that's the problem with Penthouse Theatre. As soon as you get somebody inside of that double window, if you have somebody on the rappel, Rampy in this case, you've absolutely no chance of going in and challenging that. The diffuser is almost always going to be stuck, or you're going to die trying to impact on that, and that's exactly what's happened there. So
which SSG are just not prepared to give to them. Think back to round 1 in security, for example. Sure, Rampy died, but there was a trade that came in with one player bursting in from lobby. They had one more coming in from office. It was a 3v1, the same as we saw against Rare in that previous round. So really well played by SSG. FURIA, we need to see a change, and I'm hoping to God that tactical timeout would have given it to them.
Well, as I said, FURIA do have a bit of a history of being able to scrap for results. You said yourself on Coastline previously against Team Liquid in Stage 2 all the way to 8-7. Took it the absolute distance, and I'm sure that they're going to try to do exactly the same here, but I don't know. I just had a feeling coming into this one that SSG would have taken a lot away from that Na'Vi game, and I think, to be honest, that Na'Vi maybe sort of, I don't know how best to phrase this. Spacestation were very good in game 1, and I think that maybe Na'Vi made them look not quite as good as they were, because I think Na'Vi played well. So it sort of looked like Spacestation, they've been challenged there, so maybe there's a bit of leeway for other teams to come in and do that. And I think actually Na'Vi took the game to them pretty well, and I think we're starting to see just how good maybe SSG are playing at the minute.
It's one of those that you look at it, I think, and for FURIA, again, it's the first game we've seen them play too, whereas SSG we have already seen play. And that's something I should have considered in my prediction, because I said it in literally the last game as well, that we'd seen Liquid play against Empire. We knew that Liquid had already played. We'd seen how good they were. We saw the same from SSG. By all means, my favourite game of the day was that first one between Na'Vi and SSG. Rare taking a bit of a tag there as well. This is why you see sometimes blind sprays coming through soft walls or through windows. You just don't know what's waiting on the other side.
No, absolutely not. And the thing is, we're not short of ammunition, so take your shots. You can see there, Fultz knows he has the opportunity, but Rare manages to just slip away, gets himself back upstairs to site. Needs to be careful, though, because he has taken a little bit of chip damage along the way. Now, FURIA have been forced almost completely back to site. Lenda is the only one, really. I think Fntzy was on his way back out with the Vigil, and you can see him actually there just moving into Theatre and Penthouse to try and support Lenda. But the FURIA defense at the minute is being pushed around as.
I don't mind them being pushed around. I more mind if they get themselves picked off in 1v3s and such. So I like that we're actually seeing them playing relatively together. You're seeing constant tracks coming in from Fultz, mind you, which is the one thing that makes me a little bit nervous, is the fact that that information is then being fed. And that's where FURIA have a chance to, or AR might be prone to breaking shape. So I'm trying to keep a close eye on that and making sure they are still staying in range of each other, staying in proximity. One thing I'll give to SSG, they're only down a couple of drones so far. FURIA haven't done such a great job of getting rid of that information. Instead, SSG relying very heavily on things like the Jackal. There'll be the phone calls coming out of the Decay. Lots of tools to play with. And by the way, Rampy hasn't got off a drone for the last, like, 45 seconds. Now that he's off it, great. But he was on a drone for a solid 45 seconds there. Almost saying to the others, look, you guys take the entry rolls. I'm not having a good game. Stick me on something more supportive, and it's working for them so far. I
mean, we saw how well SSG used information against Na'Vi. There was a number of rounds where they just seemed to know exactly where all of those operators were, and they'd move in and just surgically get the kills. So it's no surprise to see that focus. Thinkingnade manages to get a nade onto Miracle. Fultz, he gets one onto Lenda, and this is how it all happens. Fultz gets himself inside a VIP. He knows where the next man is going to come from, and it's because of that drone in Des. Plant going down again. It's been such a focus. This is going to be a flawless round. Rare, he needs to try and find something, anything, but with the diffuser down, it's going to be tough. He manages to down a man, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He takes some damage in the process of doing so. They know that he's in Aqua. He's looking to push, looking to try and just get himself anything, but no. Rampy finishes off that flawless round with a nice pickup from the rooftop, and maybe that'll be a little of a confidence boost for Rampy here on Coastline.
This is now an issue, I think, for FURIA, because that round was them playing and consolidating, like I said, they weren't doing prior. When they found themselves getting tracked out, they were playing as a group, they were giving each other support, they were moving through the map as a bunch. And that's okay on this map, because you can afford to move your defense around in a bunch of places. The problem is, once it came round to the one man being found with that grenade at the top of ours, others were then trying to retreat away after being tracked again by Fultz. They come up towards Fultz, who was playing inside a VIP with no knowledge that he's there, and get absolutely slapped for it. That lack of information, I feel, is really stinging FURIA. They aren't removing away things like the drones from SSG. The Jackal is giving them a massive headache. It's just the information game shining through, I feel. And FURIA look a little bit lost right now.
They do. They look, I think the best way to describe it, Des, is they look punch drunk. They look like SSG have come in here and just sort of cold clocked them with just an unexpected jab, and they don't know what's going on at the minute. They need to settle things down, and I think getting this final defensive round would be a big play for them. Coming into the attack, it might just give them the little bit of focus. It might settle them down a little bit. 5-1 is going to be very difficult to come back from against anybody, but particularly against this SSG side. It's, you know, we're just seeing hot and cold is just so consistent. There's no cold about it. There's absolutely no up and down with this man at the minute. He's coming after a big stage 2 in NAL, and he is just continuing to perform here on LAN.
Man's either freezing his enemies in fear or burning them to a crisp. Take your pick with those grenades singing through in prior rounds. Well, pretty terrific in terms of what he's achieved for the team so far, and it's a player that we've seen do really well in NAL Stage 2. Many think when we heard he was joining across to SSG, it was like, okay, is he going to be able to step into Canadian shoes? So far, absolutely. And maybe it's, we don't always see the impact of what maybe Canadian have behind the scenes, but in the server at least, Hot and Cold is steaming his way through opponents.
Certainly is. There's no stopping him. Thinkingnade sends in the Gemini clone. Fultz is going to move in very quickly behind it. Again, looking to aggress onto these FURIA roamers, catch them out, close them down, and find the kills and the advantage that goes with it. Just looking to take the long angles there. You can see the footsteps in and around the door, but the colour will signify that they are old. Lenda getting an opening kill onto Rampy. Not good for him so far here on Coastline, being absolutely battered by FURIA, particularly in the early rounds. Fntzy manages to find Hot and Cold, but Fultz, once again, how many times are we saying that name, Des? Fultz gets in and gets the trade. He is going big alongside Hot and Cold so far for this SSG side on Coastline.
I mean, Jackie asked us in the pre-show, you know, he said, oh, you know, Fultz talked about this guy, and I was like, you know what? He's got the support of players like Hot and Cold now, Rampy on his day as well. They all look great. And normally I say not to kind of write off Bosco or Thinkingnade, also fantastic players, but you've seen from the kind of results that Hot and Cold's putting out, how him kind of forcing players around with these nades, almost chasing them around and kicking them at the backside. Fultz is just sat there waiting and saying, all right, I've tracked someone, force them to me, I'll collect a 2k or a 3k in this round. Thank you very much. It's about as simple as that. Let's see how this plays out, though, because it is a 3 versus 4 for SSG. I said I wanted to see how well they could pull things off in a 3 versus 5. This is about as close as it's going to get, so let's see how it plays out.
Certainly as the challenge comes in from Thinkingnade, from Luggage towards Aquarium, looking to find the man. Highs is going to take some damage there. Lenda just putting out goo mines, but it's unlikely to have any joy, because I imagine Thinkingnade will have seen that one deploy and will just take it out. Fultz once again with a kill onto Highs. It's these big impact moments for Fultz when they are down, when the chips are stacked against them. It's he who gets in and gets kills. Look at that headshot onto Lenda. Sit down. This is the Fultz masterclass as he finds a 4th. Surely not an ace to come in from Fultz. He is 1 kill away. Does he know where the last man is? Miracle just waiting around the corner to spoil the party, and will do as he finds the kill onto Fultz, but that's going to give SSG all the information that they need. They know where the last man is. He sends out the Toxic Babe canister. It will force Thinkingnade back. 15 seconds left to go, and SSG, they need to make something happen. There's still utility available to Miracle. He uses it, has to dip away from the flashbang. In comes the challenge. He finds one and wins on time. No, in fact, the kill comes in onto Thinkingnade as he tries to move through. Just gets him at the end.
Really, really great play coming out from Miracle there as well. A 1 versus 3 to clutch it out. Just when it looked like Fultz might be on for an ace in that round. A 4k for himself, and the team still can't get it over the finish line. Unfortunate, because I feel after how SSG have played that half, they should be coming out of it at least 5-1, if not a little bit stronger with a full 6-0. But FURIA at least give themselves a couple of rounds of buffer here to try and sort things out. Let's see how they fare on the attack. SSG now the one stepping onto the defense. And a couple of interesting picks maybe coming out here. Bear especially going over to the Blitz.
Big moment for Miracle then, picking up The end of the round there, it was just what FURIA needed. Think of the momentum that is going to be taken along with that big clutch moment. And as you say, it just looked for all the world like it was going to be an SSG round, especially with the 4K from Fultz. That's the second time we've seen that today. There's Sexy Kate got a 4K, lost the round. Fultz gets a 4K, loses the round. And these are the ones that teams can't let slip away from them.
Whew, we missed the obvious pun about Miracle actually pulling off a miracle in the round, but we'll leave it now. It's in the past. For this round, at the very least, I want to be seeing the kind of gauge as to how SSG are playing it. Again, I spoke about that consolidation of members, about playing off each other. Is the plan here for FURIA to collapse down on a couple of members, isolate them because the Blitz is fantastic at things like that? Or is it an out-and-out flight rush? Because they've got the smokes, of course, from the Blitz, smokes coming out from the Twitch. It could be a rush coming in because they are all starting to gather themselves around. The door smashed through. We're on the downstairs and maybe want to isolate this guy by himself. Indeed, it is the one hanging at the bottom of Cool Vibes. Rare, I think, slightly scared off there without the knowledge of where the other members are, and I believe there is one from SSG in Kitchen.
Absolutely, Rare just taking a chance at a flash from his shield there. I think more to try and force the man away than anything else. I don't think he was probably feeling too prepared to be taking on that challenge, especially not having taken some damage. And if you're going to bring a Blitz along, generally your strategy is going to be reliant on that Blitz, because otherwise, why bring it? You're going to be using it for some function. So Rare not wanting to throw his life away by giving too much chase to the man that was exiting Sunrise. Now then, that would have been a freebie for Hotancold, but he turns away at the wrong moment. Fultz finds Miracle, but Lenda with a big double, a triple from the F2 of Twitch, and FURIA, they are here to play now that they've got themselves on the attack.
The F2, man, what a gun. It could be absolutely terrifying. Grenade in hand. And decides that, oh, what a bounce. Pinball wizard, they call him. Highs. Another big kill. Thinkingnade. Last one going down. Bosco now the last man standing. Something tells me he can't quite pull off another miracle. No, he can't. Definitely cement him in there as a wizard, because that's the second kill in the round. Honestly, the bouncing of those nades, beautiful from Highs.
Making the absolute most out of his utility there, and that's what you've got to do with these operators. You've got to squeeze every drop out of them that you can. And Highs, as you say, just getting more than his fair share there with 2 nade kills. But what about that big start from Lenda? Just when it seemed poised for the round to bounce back and forward at 4v4, he just comes in with a huge 3k to put it into their favour, and it was all a slippery slope from there for Spacestation Gaming. So now then, FURIA, they get themselves back into things 2 rounds in a row and start to find a little bit of momentum. Spacestation need to be careful here that they don't leave the door open. It's time to slam it shut. I'm sure if you're a NA fan, you're looking at this thinking, this is an important round now. This is the difference between 4-all or 5-3, and I can't overstate the difference between those 2 scorelines.
Absolutely massive. I agree with you. Let's see how it shapes out. Vertical control should be a big one coming in for FURIA, given we are on the kitchen site, unless, of course, all these kills do come elsewhere around the map. You probably won't forget that when it was FURIA defending on the top floor, they had the control of 90 with the shield. They had someone playing inside of theatre with a shield pointing in towards Penthouse. I'm keen to see if we get the same coming out of the side of SSG. I would imagine so, given there is Bosco playing on the Goyo. Indeed, there is going to be a pretty much identical setup coming out. Now the question is on FURIA's side, how do they deal with that? How do they respond differently compared to maybe how SSG did back in the first half?
SSG, we saw in the first round when they attacked onto kitchen, just didn't play into the top floor hold at all, and it cost them. They didn't try to take any possession whatsoever, and FURIA were able to lock down that defensive round. So we'll see if FURIA learn the lesson from their own success and make sure to go in and challenge and hopefully win those top floor fights. Now Fntzy looking to get himself into office. He knows that there's a man inside of there, but Bosco for the time being is going to keep himself in behind the couches. That shooting of the drone will give Fntzy all the information he needs. He's moved around, but the cover is there. Rampy in Sunroom manages to get the kill, and he's got Bosco's back and shuts down Fntzy to give SSG a strong start in this pivotal round.
It's again just being constant gunfight seemingly everywhere you take a look. It's I don't know. Again, chaotic. I would always describe it here on Coastline. It's one of those you look at and just think, okay, it's going to come down to that at points, but good cover coming out from Rampy. That team play is everything. Playing for the trades, playing as a unit. Jackal track coming through. Now the question comes in, how fast can FURIA respond? Because SSG were lightning quick on their attacks at responding.
They were. Every time that we saw a death, it was almost always followed up by a kill of SSG just to keep things nice and level. But FURIA just sort of sitting back and allowing this one to stew a little bit, and all that's doing is burning more and more time. They still haven't got into office. They're still looking to push. It was nearly a minute ago that Fntzy died trying to do exactly that. Bosco, he's burnt another minute in there. He's just going to sit back in security, try to hold a tight angle, and then eventually dip himself away, but with no great haste and with nobody on his toes, nobody forcing him to move from FURIA.
So let's say things pieced out for a couple of seconds there to see how things were setting up after that initial entry kill, but no, as I say it, hot and cold with a C4. SSG in the 5 versus 3. No Jackal, no Iana on the other side. Oh, what is this? What is this, boys? Highs with a 2K. Not even a single bullet landing onto Highs. And the fact that they swung just suggested they knew that he was there, but no one connects anything. What was that?
Highs getting away with absolute murder at that point, finding those two. Rare it's going to be to get the kill onto Fultz, but Hot and Cold does manage to get the trade. It leaves Highs now in a 1 versus 2. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's already done some of the hard yards when he found that double kill inside of Hall of Fame. The information's been fed back. They must know that he's pushing through kitchen. He was spotted out on the default cam. Now Highs needs to find himself 2 kills in 13 seconds. 1 in bathroom. He doesn't know where the challenge is going to come from. It's unlikely that he gets both. Surely he finds 1 though. 5 seconds. You just got to stay alive, and that's why we see Bosco running as fast as he can into blue bar, because he did not want to take that challenge with Highs.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me on the Bosco, man. I mean, that's one way to get yourself over a finish line. It's one of those rounds that you just look at it developing and you know, oh, Highs is going to do it, isn't he? He gets a 2K into Penthouse with the weirdest and probably worst peak I think I've seen at the top level, and then gets the vertical kill as well afterwards. Almost defending far or descending far enough that this could have been a 4-4 scoreline. Will this be like the first match of the day where we look back at it and say there was some incredibly close rounds that SSG just edged out ahead over Na'Vi? That could be one of those rounds that we point back at later on and say that was the round that they just edged out over FURIA.
Champions know how to win ugly, I think is the saying, and Bosco showing that all you've got to do is whatever it takes to get that number up on the scoreboard. Just keeping himself out. There was absolutely no sense in taking that fight whatsoever. Highs was on an absolute flyer that round, was hitting shots absolutely everywhere. And Bosco doing the very smart thing and just getting himself into a position of safety inside a blue bar, just down prone. I've got an angle on the door. There's very little that FURIA could do about it, but that round was a lot tighter than it maybe should have been. I've got to ask questions about what was going on, Des, on that Penthouse to Hall of Fame door. 2 players stacking up and just running straight through there. You're asking for trouble, and they got it.
I mean, yeah. They're keeping it close. They're playing with my heart a little bit here on which way it might work out, but it is what it is. Penthouse and Theatre, both teams have now opted to step in here. All 4 sites being played so far in this game is always quite fun to see. We saw 3 of them in the first 3 rounds. In fact, the first 4 rounds we saw all 4 getting played, just to give you a full idea of just how, and not so much popular, but how viable all 4 of the sites are. And of course, if you missed the reveal at the start of today's broadcast, you should go back and watch it later on. There are a few tweets coming to Coastline that look incredibly exciting, which might just make them even more viable.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, it's, you know, it's probably been a little bit overdue that we've been looking for some changes to Coastline, and I think certainly the things that are being done seem to be addressing some of the issues that we have on Coastline, so hopefully we will see some improvements. But, I mean, I know we differ in opinion, but it's always been a map that I actually quite enjoy. I just like the chaos of it. Now, Fntzy, he manages to get another opening kill onto Rampy, who is having a rough game here on Coastline so far. 5 versus 4 now for FURIA, and this is the moment that I talk about for FURIA and how they are a scrappy team. SSG have just won a pivotal round there. Getting themselves 5-3 on the scoreline is massive, but FURIA are not the sort of team to be intimidated by that, and you might just see them fighting their way back into this yet.
If I gave you a little stat in isolation that FURIA are currently 6-3 on the entry, you'd be very surprised to see they're currently down 5-3 as well. Maybe that changes, of course, by the end of the round. But it does go to show, you know, SSG still managing to bring things back even when they lose the opening man. You're not so nervous when you see Rampy going down, but what makes me slightly nervous is they did incredibly well on the attack. Here on the defense, things have not gone so well for them, so I do feel that a loss in the early round this early on is what really comes back to sting them and really comes back to bite.
Real line of sight has just been open there in the theatre wall. We are defending Penthouse and theatre, so that is a big play. It allows pressure to come in from the top of White Stairs onto site. It's not now just about the double window directly into site. Thinking they're just holding down that balcony door, but for the time being, there's going to be no need to as nobody is coming forward. Out goes the Nitro. Unsuccessful for Hotancold. He's taken a bit of damage along the way as well, and he just needs to be careful. He's looking to get aggressive and challenge onto that upside down rappel, but thinks better of it as he dips himself into the corner. Fultz once again. How many times can we say his name? Comes in and gets a headshot onto Highs. Gets himself a second onto Rare. There's a couple of kills bouncing about, but it's effectively 2 versus 1 for Furia as we've got Thinkingnade and Fultz both down here. Hotancold, he's the last man. Holds the angle. Gets the kill onto Lenda. That leaves us now effectively 1 versus 1. Does he see the man? Yes. Can he find the shots? No.
That's a shot and a half coming back from Hotancold. Holy hell. Using the bomb for a bit of assistance there. Lovely. Couple of headshots coming out from him at the end to make sure SSG get over the finish line despite it being a 2 versus 1 for Furia. I'll say it again, Ace. That is one of those rounds you'll look back at and say, Furia could have taken that. These games are close for SSG today, but ultimately what makes a champion is those that can get those scrappy wins, and a win on Coastline, it's about as scrappy as it gets. 6-3 to SSG.
Furia, I'm sure, will be looking back at this game and feeling like, not necessarily straight out, we could win that, but you're going to be looking at rounds like that and thinking, we've thrown that away, because, you know, they're in a 2 versus 1 effectively. They might not know that at the time. I know they knew one was down in front of them. I don't know about the position of the second downed man, so maybe they were unaware of that, but still, you've got to look at that and think, they're the ones we've got to get on the board. If you're going to beat SSG, you know, you're not talking about a something and nothing team here. You're talking about former world champions. You need to take your opportunities when they're there, because you're not going to get many of them.
Bottom C 1v2. Beautiful. Right, let's see how FURIA sets up. Then this could be the final round of the matchup unless Furia can pull out some magic here and take us through into round 11. On their lineup, nothing really worth singing home about all that much here. You're seeing again Lenda playing on that Twitch as he has done all half long. Rare still sticking on that Flores, and the hard breach coming through of the Ace. Limited use case, but mainly used for things like the mirror windows where they've been brought along. There isn't one present here in this round. SSG instead going in towards things like the Wamai, the Mozzie, the Lucy, things to get them off site and keep themselves busy. But again, a good focus on Mute and Mozzie for the denial of information.
5 versus 5, 6-3 on the scoreboard. 15 seconds into the round as Furia start approaching the map, looking to get inside the attack. I just don't feel like it's had enough teeth so far for Furia. They've managed to get a couple of kills in the early to mid round, but they've never really been able to carry that weight forward and to really make that advantage pay for them. SSG always just finding a way at the minute of keeping themselves fighting, keeping themselves in it, whether it's Hotancold hiding behind the bomb chassis or whether it's thinking they're getting the diffuser down at the last second when they were on the attack. It just seems like SSG always have the answer.
Alright, and there we go. This is what I love seeing about the Flores. I expect we'll see a lot of it in this tournament. Sent through and freely taking that shield. Nothing you can do. You have a very slight window to spray it before it gets anywhere near your shield. Otherwise, it is guaranteed to be dead. So nice start from Furia, at least to remove that comfort on the far side of Hookabilia's will make it a bit more uncomfortable. Got a couple of members playing on the downstairs as well. Only one currently playing on Vars. Just trying to gauge exactly where the aggression is coming in from the side of Furia. And right now the answer from Miracle was going to be in VIP. Start calling that FultzSSG VIP in at this point, given all the damage that he's done from there. But with him not being on the attack, not option to play there this time. Looks like it's going to be a south side push coming in. Hotancold below with a C4. Let's keep a real close eye on that because that could do some untold damage.
I think that's 2 Selma charges now that have been deployed. One is now able to go off, but still won't be successful. And that is the second time. There was one played inside of VIP as well, but I believe there's a mute jammer that's stopping it working. So SSG just doing fantastically well here at limiting Furia's use of their utility, not allowing them to open up lines of sight that could be advantageous. Hotancold shut down in Sunroom. He will not have a hope of staying alive there as he's challenged by 2 men at the same same time. Lenda knows that there's one above and tries to find an angle, but won't be successful. Spots the head, but he was in the reload animation, so can't go for the shots.
In that spot as well, the C4 on the south side. Quite smart coming out from the Yana of Fntzy, by the way. Throws the nades and immediately gets out of dodge. Doesn't want to get C4'd. As soon as those grenades start flying, that's a great indication to Hotancold downstairs of what he could get away with. Rampy with a great swing, this time coming in from the 90 side with support from Thinkingnade. A 1 versus 2 coming out from SSG. Nice and clean. We've seen it all game long, but rare. As Crouch walk his way inside. Notes he's getting challenged out from 2 different angles. Can he find any? 2 kills fly the way of FURIA. Make it a 3rd. They might have just completely shut down his defense coming out of SSG. Can Rampy do enough after having such a difficult game so far? Can he be the winner for them? No, he cannot. Miracle finds the kill. FURIA take round 10.
FURIA keep on fighting, and all I ask, Des, is that you just keep in your mind what I said about FURIA. They are capable of fighting back against the odds. They get themselves around there. It was 3 versus 3, 25 seconds left to go, and you felt like SSG could maybe do what was needed to get that one done and to put Coastline to bed, but no, FURIA managed to get themselves a couple of kills. All it took was Rare to Crouch walk in, and they had absolutely no idea what was going on before they were hit like a freight train by FURIA as they managed to start getting the diffuser down, and Rampy unable to close that one out. So we're going to be heading down to Kitchen now for round number 11, and a win here for FURIA would take us all the way to the 12th round. SSG, for me, have looked better than being pushed to a 12th round here. They have looked dominant so far, but FURIA, this is where they can really come alive.
The underdog story, mate, as we spoke about. It is 3 rounds in a row that have to win on the bounce. The last one plus the next 2 to take us up to 6-6 and force the overtime. A spot that I'm sure SSG don't want to get into after what was an excellent first half. They looked more than dominant. They were really running the mill of things here. They owned the keys to Coastline. The FURIA were unwelcome guests that wanted to get booed out there as fast as they could. But in the second half, FURIA have fought their way back in ever so slightly. Let's see how this kitchen hold goes up, though. The same as before, we're seeing a hold onto 90, a hold inside a Penthouse. All the usual things, all the usual frills that you'll see for this kind of defense. All going to come down to FURIA and how well they can break it.
So quite a widespread approach from FURIA at the minute. They've got pressure going towards Penthouse. We've got Lenda moving up onto Hooker and up in towards the roof now. He's going to try and hold a vertical angle for the time being, see if he can catch anybody on the rotate potentially. The drones are going to rain in, and Penthouse Theatre is something that FURIA need to deal with if they want this vertical pressure. Thinkingnade deploying the magnet there, just trying to keep himself in position behind that deployable shield for as long as possible. Now then, we've got 2 on the rooftop, I believe, for FURIA. One looking to drop the hatch, which will be the sledge of highs. We've also got the Twitch up there, but then the remaining 3 are at each corner of the map. You've got Fntzy moving in ahead of us there. Going to do some damage onto Hotancold, unable to find the kill. Hotancold escapes with his life, but they are pushing from 3 different points here. It could leave SSG a little bit pinched.
Reloading.
Highs. Oh, big 2K. This is similar to how it played out last time. Initially a focus on the downstairs, but same position of 2K onto the 2 that were holding inside of Penthouse. A good start, and Highs might have just done enough to get them through into the next round, assuming they can close things out cleanly here.
We have seen SSG fight their way back from difficult odds so far. You said it yourself, Des. You just get the feeling, even with a 3 versus 5 at the minute, that SSG is still capable of winning. Fultz goes out and just misses his man. What an opportunity that could have been. It would have been a real steal had he been able to claim that one. He just needs to keep himself away for the time being. The nade coming in to clear out his deployable shield, but he's keen to play on the reverse vertical angle. Coming into the final minute then, and it's time for FURIA to start making that man advantage pay.
It's just Highs being a terror from above. The grenade singing in, the kills that he's been finding, Fntzy finding another. SSG surely cannot let this one slide, but it sure feels like it's going to. Bosco and Fultz in a 2 versus 5, being droned out still. Fultz is terrified about this vertical play coming in. Sees the man, surely knows that he's there. Goes to the challenge, getting sprayed back in reverse, but can't find each other. It's like trying to play the floor is lava for Highs, but manages to walk away alive. And another grenade is going to follow Fultz downstairs, removing the Goyo shield, turning the floor into genuine lava as Bosco finds one. Fntzy on the flank. Bosco in a 1 versus 4. I think we know how this one should be playing out. A long angle challenge down to about 5 HP. Fntzy
of feeling like they've been beaten up. You know, they're great at coming back from that and just turning it around very, very quickly. But look at this, Des, coming in. Is this a bit of a Hail Mary from SSG? We've got the Tachanka coming along.
Oh, boy. I'm not sure that's really the kind of let's fix everything change that you want, but clearly that's a discussion they've had here. Maybe they're looking for some kind of hard denial coming out. We spoke earlier on about the Tachanka changes coming in, by the way. Now has 14 rounds, and his LMG does a little bit more transformational sight work, depending on what range you are using. I think up close the holes are considerably bigger. You're seeing Fultz almost mechanically going about getting these things opened up. Extremely good for that purpose.
As you said, great for the renovation, but how will it fare throughout the round? You know, that's got to be the bigger question, because plenty of operators that can do exactly the same thing in terms of sort of adjusting the site and giving.
I mean, let's be real, Ace, right? There's only one thing that Jackie is going to care about, and that is whether this Tachanka is strong enough to turn that sofa around.
I mean, that's the reality. Jackie would put an entire operator in the game just with the ability to do that. I mean, I think Oryx is your man. If you're looking for somebody to move some furniture, it's got to be Oryx.
So, easy. Well, we've got 5 seconds. Let's take a look in VIP for a second, right? And look at the rotation of the big sofa. Not the one that's sat on there. This one. Jackie's massive gripe is, why is that not facing the TV? You just got to look over people's heads.
He feels like the opening is the front of the sofa, and it should be pointed towards the TV.
Oh, yeah, he's right. Absolutely. It's unlivable.
It's just absolutely unlivable. Forget the resort. It's you know, just burn it down. There's just nothing you can do with the place.
I think as you guys once said, it's a 2-star rating on TripAdvisor.
It is. Now, Fntzy, he's going to be moving into that kitchen, looking to cook up a storm with a long angle across the luggage there. He's not going to find anybody and heads off towards main lobby. Right now, SSG doing a good job of just keeping themselves out of the way here. They're not pushing forward, not over-aggressing. They don't want to give FURIA anything to go on. That's been one of the problems, has been that SSG have been so consistently losing that opening kill. They've done very well to say that that's been the case, but they can't keep doing it, and they need to keep themselves alive late into the round.
At peacetime, there's been no early exchange. Pretty much every entry kill has come in the first 60 seconds so far. Here, we're down to about 90. This may just turn out to be the slowest entry kill of the game. If things carry on this way, Fultz almost getting taken down there as the first one of those flame canisters come out. And then nearly finding himself killed would have been a big waste of the rest of that utility. But at least for now, it's still on side. SSG doing a pretty hard hold up towards the northwest side here. Not too worried about the roam, for example. Just playing it pretty passively.
Hotancold just going to play his life in behind that mirror window, looking to find any heads that he can out in office. He knows that they are there, but can he get the nitro out? Absolutely not, and he will be downed in the process of trying. It's going to be up to Fultz to go in there and collect his man, which is exactly what he'll do. He'll start bouncing those grenades off walls, just trying to create an obstruction anywhere he can.
They were so terrified of the plant going down there, but it wasn't even a thing. Lenda goes absolutely nuclear, bringing down 2 for himself. Fntzy into another. Things descend into a 3 versus 2. FURIA, a golden opportunity to send it into overtime. They find another. They find it all the way, Tim. They found 3 rounds back to back. We're going to have our first overtime here on the B stream.
Absolutely no fear from FURIA. They keep fighting. There is no stopping them. And just as I said, they are scrappy. They will fight their way back into games. They don't mind being 6-3. That's 6-3 down against former world champions SSG. They will fight for it. And that is what they have done consistently for the last 12 months. And it's what's got them here to the Mexico Major today. And they're not about to stop.
You know what the scariest thing is? It's FURIA starting on attack as the momentum has carried on through them for the last 3 rounds. Got them to this point. SSG, they've got the full choice of sites. They choose where to play. They opt for Penthouse and Theatre. They bring the Chanka, the Lord, along once again. As FURIA now, of all times, choose to make a change. Rare coming along with that thinker.
It's something that we have seen in the LATAM region previously, is the use of the thinker. It was particularly something that I think it was Yuna that used to bring it, first on FaZe and then on subsequent rosters, and very, very effective here on Coastline with the thinker. Let's see if that's something that Rare can maybe just learn from and bring to the table here. Could be a little bit of a surprise playing in for SSG, but they've got surprises of their own. There's Rampy coming with the Oryx. Only 5 kills so far. If there's a point in time that he's going to get involved in this matchup, now is the time to do it. But look at the construction work that's gone on around Penthouse. I can't help but feel, Des, that this is a little bit of a risk on the side of SSG with such an important defensive round, though.
I love it. There's a team in the UK called Randy's that bought 5 shotguns once and just opened up every floor and soft wall on Coastline that they could. We were sat there casting and just had to like remove our headsets because of the volume it was making. I can't wait. I couldn't imagine the sort of destructive work they'd have fun with bringing along a Chanka in its current state, because it just destroys so much. It's mental. Either way, let's put a focus on this thinker and the use case of it. That's going to be the big one for me, is when that gets pulled in, you know it's go time. You look for the frags, you look for the play, because that's when the fireworks really start to fly.
SSG looking to make a challenge up onto the rooftop there. Thinkingnade just blasting a couple of shots, not going to get any joy, and largely falling back to sight. But now Rampy, Hotancold, they both disappear underneath here, and they're going to try to have some sort of an impact, but at the minute find themselves at the complete opposite end of the map. Lenda just taking down some gadgets with the ping information that's being fed back into him. But FURIA, Des, they have to be aware of this duo underneath.
It's the hatch hopping that we always want to see, that we dream of, that might not yet happen. Worth mentioning as well, by the way, Fultz on the Chanka. Think about how much time he can burn through. If each flame lasts 7 seconds, he's got 12 of them. That's a lot of time. A hell of a lot of time. 84 seconds, about a minute and a half. So from now forwards, that 84-second mark being 1 minute 24, he could just keep on burning through these and constantly keep someone from FURIA at bay.
Highs needs to take his opportunity, really, as and when those flames die out. He's just had a window of maybe 5 seconds, but the difficulty of doing that is Thinkingnade playing on that theatre wall. Now his mirror's been opened up, so that might force him back, but no, the challenge comes in. Highs, misplaced confidence there. Thinkingnade keeps himself on the breach, pushes forward. We see that the Tachanka grenades are still coming out and raining fire, but Fntzy, he rains bullets onto Fultz, who's gone quiet in this second half. Lenda, Miracle, it's all going to FURIA. Des, it's happening. 4 versus 2 right now. 4 versus 1. It's all up to Rampy. This is your moment if you're going to have a big moment within this game. Uses the sprint to dash forward, get himself into a position to attack, but shut down on the breach by Fntzy. And FURIA are living a fantasy right now.
Mate, that's 4 rounds on the bounce. FURIA are tearing apart last year's 6 invitational winners. The team that dropped 18 rounds in 8 games in all of NAL. They were that level of dominance. There was only 1 game that went further than, I think, 2 rounds lost, when it was like an 8-6 or something. FURIA are challenging them, and I will use this as great evidence for why a team like SSG should not go to Coastline. I'll say it time and time again. Structured teams who benefit from that structure really shouldn't come to a map like this where chaos can reign, because FURIA are thriving in it on the attack. Where I have some confidence for SSG is on the defensive side. FURIA showed they were not able to deal with SSG ganging up in 3v1s on them and being incredibly reactive to information being fed back and forth by the team. If they pull off something magic here, wonderful. But I worry the most about round 15, if we get there, that SSG will not be able to adapt in time.
Well, I feel like we're in a situation where we are likely to see round 15. If we just look at history, I mean, FURIA have got some great momentum at the minute, but SSG were very good on the attack. So I feel like it probably goes to round 15, and if it does, SSG felt like they just took a bit of a risk there in round 13. They went Penthouse Theatre, they had the Tachanka. It was always a bit of a roll of the dice. I feel like if they come into round 15, maybe that defense is played a little bit differently, and they just go back to something super solid that they've locked down previously, and they think, right, we need to close this and get it over the line. So you're absolutely right, it is not going to be easy for FURIA to close this out, but they've got their opportunity, Des. They've got there. If nothing else, they've sent a message. They've sent a message to Na'Vi. They've sent a message to the rest of the tournament that they're here to play. They're not underdogs, that they are equals, that they can challenge, that they can scrap, they can fight, and that they can win rounds.
That's what gets me so excited about international play, is every time it rolls around, you're now looking at the best teams in the world all playing in the same server. And although you come in with expectations of, SSG can beat that team, NIP can beat that team, it can just completely turn upside down and cause massive upsets if you're not careful. Great example, you got about 3 seconds to close your ears if you don't want to hear the Dark Zero versus NIP score. Right now on the other stream, Dark Zero are beating NIP 5-3. So whilst Dark Zero upsetting NIP, the game that we all thought NIP would win, over here, we've got FURIA, the team that we thought would lose to SSG, upsetting SSG. The tournament is upside down. What is this?
Well, this is exactly what happens in international play, as you say, and that's what makes it really fascinating. We can all look at it coming in and think, Dark Zero, maybe didn't do the best out of the NA teams coming into this through stage 2. Maybe they're going to struggle. And then they have great results on the opening day, and it just throws it on its head. Highs, he's going to get thrown on his head. He's going to get put down but not out inside a service there, and he is likely to just see the rest of his life tick away, as there's going to be no opportunity for his teammates to get to him. Hotancold does take a lot of damage though, which leaves us in a 5 versus 4 as he gets in to secure that kill. 1 minute 25 left to go. SSG looking good on the attack again.
You know what I did see as well, one change I think that's coming with this next season or patch or whatever, is that if you shoot someone when they're down, if they've been down by someone else, that other person gets the kill. That's one to look forward to. Hotancold did down in there, I'm pretty sure, with the frag grenades. Something really worth getting too upset about there, but there's one thing I remember seeing on Twitter earlier on that's worth mentioning. Either way, you can see where the battle lines have been drawn here. The West held by FURIA. SSG pushing in slowly from the East as we get into this final 60 seconds or so. We've got one trying to challenge them inside of office right here. It's Lenda. I think you'll know that there's someone playing really too far down for him to have a chance of contesting them there. But as the drone starts singing in, this is where SSG shine. Their pressure from multiple fronts is always really good. C4. Oh, okay. Have some of my explosive back, says Hotancold. A second kill in the round coming from a frag. The first one from a down into a gunshot, but that one, it was all frag play. Fultz into another. A 5 versus 2. SSG looking to take this all the way to 15 rounds. At the point I said I would get nervous, but Rare finds one. Cannot find another. It's a 1 versus 4 for Miracle. We've already seen him pull one off today, but I don't think he'll find himself a second. If that kill had landed, different conversation. Smokes come out, gets challenged from blue and pre-fired by Rampy. All the way to 15, Ace. I wouldn't have it any other way.
There is absolutely nothing to separate these two teams at the minute. It has been a real playground for the attackers here on Coastline today. SSG just proving their effectiveness there on the attacking side, and it was another great round from them. Leaves us 7-all, and this is where I say I just feel like SSG maybe find that extra 2% here and lock it down on the defense. I'm just having a quick look through. SSG defended Hooker twice. They lost it both times, Des.
I mean, they turned towards Theatre as their first defense, and we saw how that worked out for them, so I'm glad that it's going down into a more, air quotes, normal site. I am surprised by how much Penthouse Theatre we've actually seen in this game. I think 3 rounds of it so far, which is quite exciting. However, Elias Hooker needs to be what goes right for them. Let's take a look at what difference there is as well in their setup here, because that could be a bit of a difference maker. Looking across the lineups, Iana, Twitch, Blitz is what we saw FURIA bring before alongside Slidge and Hibana. Here it's going to be the Ace. On the defender's side, we had the Mozzie, the Smoke, the Wamai, the Mute, and the Vigil. So there are a couple of changes here, because you're seeing things like that mirror stepping in. I'm hoping those changes are the ones that work out for them. Heaven knows they knew it was building up to this, and they had to make round 15 work for them.
Nobody deserves to lose here. They've both put on such an entertaining show for us. It's been real top-line siege at times with some great kills, great moments, and great fight. Great heart is exactly what we want to see. That's where the stories are really born, and There can only be one winner, though, and it's going to be decided in the next 2 minutes and 45 seconds. FURIA have attacked onto Hooker and Billiards twice, and they have won twice. Kitchen was available for Space Station Gaming. That is the site that they won on defense, but they've chosen not to go there. They're going to head instead to Hooker and Billiards, and that is where the fate is going to be decided. High, straight up onto the rooftop, looking to open the hatch and potentially drop into Penthouse and Theatre. FURIA, they're going to be looking for a strong start once again. We've seen them have a lot of joy on those opening kills, particularly finding Rampy early in the rounds, and if they could do that again, it would be perfect for them.
Alright, let's see how it sets forward from here as well. All the explosives singing through, but no one being caught out by frags, and we saw that happen a lot in this game, as you remember in the previous round. High's especially been our go-to frag expert, it feels like, for the most part. But it's Lenda currently being the one that's hanging off on the downstairs. We'll keep an eye on Highs and keep an eye on where those grenades do come singing into, because there's also two on the side of Fntzy, currently holding inside of blue. They're getting themselves set up and maybe looking for a grenade play from below might be the one they're thinking of. High's rotating himself away. Fntzy still lurking around inside of blue. It's about this upstairs push they're looking for. The grenade in hand. Where are they going for? It's going to be a little alley-oop up towards blue, but no one's there. Rotates away just in time. Now that they know this is going to be so easy. Here we go. Good night. We've seen this time and time again. It's the opening kill. Thinkingnade, the one going down.
Big start there from the Iana to take the man at the top of Cool Vibe Stairs. That just gives a little bit of freedom here, and that's, I was just going to say, to move inside a Hooker. That's exactly what Miracle does. The diffuser's going down, Des. FURIA might just win this one. It's 4 versus 3. 4 versus 2 effectively as Fultz is down. The diffuser's planted on the door. This is going to be an extremely difficult retake for SSG here. It's all down to the remaining 3. Fultz, Bosco, Hotancold, they've got to make something happen. Rare finds one, Fantasy another. It's all over, Des. I'm calling it. This one is done. Lenda wins it out for FURIA. They beat Space Station Gaming, and they put themselves a win on the board on day 1.
Unbelievable. No one. Okay, maybe.